What's poppin', everybody? Today we are going yard. It's all about distance. Let me show you what we're doing. We have 8 distance drivers with us today. We have 4 flippy distance drivers or understable, and then we have 4 stable drivers. And basically today, the first thing is which one can we put out further? Is it gonna be the hyzer flip where the disc does the work, or is it gonna be the stable disc where we put it on a little bit of ante? Also try to figure out which one's more consistent with distance, which one is more controllable as well. So for the understable drivers, we have 3 Hades, and because I didn't have a 4th, I also brought out a really lightweight Defy. This thing should hyzer flip for us. On the other side of the spectrum, I have 3 Nukes, and then the odd man out is a Kong, aka a prototype Zeus, which this thing is pretty stable. So we're gonna chuck these in the field a few times and hopefully get a good sense of what goes further, what's a little bit more consistent for us. It's also a pretty calm day. If anything, there is a little bit of a helping tailwind, so you can keep that in mind as well. These are my first shots of the day, so I wouldn't be surprised if these didn't go anywhere. Pretty good. I hope that's the most stable Hades we throw today. The Hades is one of my favorite distance drivers when it's a calm day. Oh, I slipped. That is not, I don't know how that went as far as it did. Oh my goodness, about to pull a groin out here. Hopefully we don't do that again. Check out this Hades, a prototype. I've thrown this like 1 time. Oh yeah, that is gonna be the distance driver right there. If I can get up in the air, I was a little scared of slipping, I won't lie. And the Defy is crushed. My goodness. Furthest shot, that thing is flippy. A couple of missed releases on those, mainly because of the footing, but that's fine because that Defy went a pretty far away. We'll move on to the Nukes now. And with the Nukes, I'm basically trying to put them on a little flex line, put them on some ante. Little low, but it is a beamer. And it got a huge skip. Gonna have to try a little harder than that with them. There we go. Oh, that is not as stable. There it's coming out. Last but not least, to round number 1, we got the Kong here. I don't think any of the Nuke shots have went as far as that Defy. You can kind of see I didn't get that one on anhyzer and how stable it is. The disc is really not going to give us any extra distance unless we put it on ante. Again, a couple of missed releases, but those were the first shots of the day, so I'm sure we're going to be able to correct that. I'm going to get some of these distances, at least some of the further ones, and kind of see where we are at. I definitely think I need to get the Nukes in the air a little bit more, on a little bit more turn as well, to really travel the distance. On the flippy side, that Defy is very flippy. It got us some great distance. We'll see if it's close to the 400s. So the Kong, I believe, was my second furthest stable shot, which is coming in at 355. To give you an idea, the Hades, which I almost fell throwing, 325. So imagine if I almost slipped on the stable shot, how short it would have been. Understable discs will be a little bit more forgiving if you do have a missed release or maybe a little slippage. My furthest Nuke was at 378, and then that Defy, where I felt like we really got a hold of it, the Defy 392. So that's our furthest shot out of that bunch, although the Nuke really isn't that far behind. One thing I struggle with on a disc golf course, especially when it comes to longer holes, is do I throw the Hades where I feel like it's my max distance driver, but at the same time I think the risk is greater because if I do end up rolling it over or I don't hit the angle correctly, I'm going to be coming up a lot shorter than if I just threw something a little bit more stable. And honestly, if I'm throwing a Hades 400 feet and I'm throwing a Nuke or a Zeus, whatever it is, 380, 370, I don't know if that 20 to 30 extra feet of distance is even worth it. Let's continue. Round 1 is in the books. Round 2, we'll start with the Nukes and the more stable discs. Oh, I just burned it, man. I guess there's always opportunity for me to do that with a stable disc too, though, so. Oh, that was easy. That's a great flight. But that's probably just about at 360. Little laser beam there. Gonna get a big skip probably. I like it. Man, that comes out quick though. That's the Kong. Good skip. Of course, on a disc golf course, you're not always throwing into a wide open field either. So some of the more understable stuff can come in handy in the woods and different shot shapes. Today we're just talking distance though. I think this is my most stable, understable disc today, if that makes sense. There it goes. Oh, that's huge, I think. Oh my. There you have it right there. That's why Hades is great. That's got to be hitting 400. I think it's past the road. I threw that one perfect. But that's the thing, is like I have to throw it perfect in order to get that max distance. Or I could just do that. With the understable stuff, it's more about trying to make sure you give it the height and give it the hyzer angle. I swear that one is more, that might be the most flippy one. That's far too though. That was such a shank, but that is far. I'm a little all over the place with these understable discs. Look at that. Might not be very far, but what a flight that was. I mean, right off the bat, you see the two misfires. One low with the stable disc, one low with the understable disc, coming up nowhere. It'll be interesting to see where all the stable discs landed in relationship to each other versus the understable. Because I think the stable ones should be all kind of in the same spot. So when it comes to some of the more stable discs, there's one, there's the second, and then back there is the third. So a decent grouping. With the understable, I got one here, I got one way out there, and then I have one all the way out there. So comparatively, at least the stable discs are all kind of in the same area, whereas the understable are a little bit more all over the place. Probably our furthest Hades is right here, 421. I think it did get a little skip off this road here. The Page Pierce nuke is going to be the furthest nuke, and it's at 392. So I'm not sacrificing a ton of distance. Again, it would depend on the hole there. If it's a wide open shot, that distance I'm not caring about. But if it's a shot where I need to be closer to a gap or a tunnel, then obviously I care about the extra distance. I'll also say most of these discs are coming up between that 360 to the 375 range, I would say. Only a couple of them I'm getting a hold of, and that's when they hit that 400 plus, or with the stable discs, I don't even think I've hit 400 yet, but I'm coming close. I don't necessarily want to bore you guys just throwing shot after shot after shot, but at the same time, I am trying to get a pretty clear representation of maybe some of the pros and cons for throwing distance with stable or flippy. Right now, it seems flippy is going to go the furthest for me. It's won both times. Now, it might be a little bit more inconsistent. I think that's where the stable stuff comes in. It's a little bit more consistent where they're landing and also with the distance. For me right now, that distance, the consistent distance, I feel like is like 365, 370. Also, the understable stuff might be a little bit more forgiving if you do slip, or if you don't get all your power behind it. It'll kind of fly a little bit longer, I would say, than the stable stuff, which makes sense. Let's see if I can back any of that up. We'll start with the flippy this time. See if we can get another 400 bomb. Nope, too low. And you see I didn't hit my angle right either. That's pretty good. I thought I overcooked it there for a second. What's nice about that is it didn't hit the road first, it actually hit the grass, but it slid onto the road. So we didn't really get extra distance by the road. So it'd be interesting to see where that one comes in at. I have not yet perfected this Hades yet. It is so understable though. That's a good shot. That is like the perfect Hades shot, I feel like. Overcooked it. Maybe. I mean, I did. Yep. Honestly, I kind of like that batch just to show you kind of what happens when you don't hit that understable disc right. If you don't hit the angle, the power gets a little hairy. Now let's go with something that may be a little bit more consistent, the Kong and the nukes. That's great. Imagine if that was an understable disc. That would have went nowhere. I mean, I definitely have to try harder for the distance. That is very much a thing here. Ah. That one's gonna be decent, but it's not gonna be 390. Yeah, you can see 2 of these nukes, I didn't even get to 360 that time. Right here, you have that perfect S-flight out of the Hades. I mean, that was just beautiful. Getting 386. And then the nuke, one of the nukes, 372. And we also have another, the Kong is about 372 as well. I really don't think the road helped us too terribly much on this Hades shot, like I had mentioned. But it's coming in at 414. So once again, understable, going the distance, going further, pretty consistently every round. It's just, what is it worth to you, and can you control that disc? All right, guys, that was 12 shots from each side of the spectrum here. For me, I think it's pretty clear. The understable stuff, a little bit harder to control, but it's gonna go a bit further when you really get a hold of it and you get your angles right. The nukes, just a little bit more consistent. They land a little closer to each other, but I'm sacrificing anywhere between, 10 to 30 feet. So on a disc golf course, what's it worth? At the same time, there's way more that comes into play, like wind conditions. Honestly, your footing, I feel like if it is rainy, you don't want to throw as hard. You're going to throw a little bit more understable. So there's so much more that plays into this. But let me know what you guys think. One of my buddies, he only throws the big flex shots for his distance, and he throws it about 450. So to each their own. I like throwing the hyzer flips. Again, just let me know what you guys think of the video. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and we will see you in the next one.